entertainmentbuddha.com.
Matt Haywood here from entertainmentbuddha.com. We're about to kick off another episode, and not just another, it is a special episode, people. That's right. Nick and I are back. We're doing a special episode of the Star Wars Time Show because of what went down at D23 last weekend. And by last weekend, I'm kind of talking about, July 15, 16 type of time frame. So whenever you're listening to this, that is what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about what went down Star Wars-wise at D23, which, if you're not familiar, that is Disney's big, hey, we're Disney, we're awesome celebration they do, I think, once a year now. Right, Nick? I mean, that's what D23 is. How many years old? And it's always called D23.
Yeah, it's always called D23. It is every year, and now we get to have some Star Wars stuff, we get some Marvel stuff, and then obviously you get the regular drops about Disney, the parks, and everything like that. The 23, I think that's like, D23 is like Disney's like special high-end club, if I'm not remembered, that's what like all of the valued members of the Disney family are a part of.
Yeah, I know that the number 23 means something.
Yeah.
To Disney. Like, I have no clue what it means, so it's not what we're talking about. But anyways, we're going to be going through what was revealed at D23 in terms of Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Because that's all we got. We didn't get any Han Solo stuff. We really didn't get anything but The Last Jedi. And you know what, Nick? That's okay with me, because right now, all I want to see is Star Wars: The Last Jedi. So let's go ahead and start out with the behind-the-scenes trailer, video, featurette, whatever you want to call it, that they shared Saturday at D23. All right, Nick, so this thing was pretty damn awesome, right? I mean, we got some great looks at Ryan's process and the behind-the-scenes, the sets, the characters, and it kind of revealed what potentially could be going on in the movie, as well as just the visuals we should expect, which it looks like Ryan's going for a very practical type of film.
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely following in J.J. Abrams' footsteps, because we remember when production first started on Episode 7, one of the first things that we saw was an incredibly well-made practical creature that we saw on Jakku at the time, and now with this behind-the-scenes footage that we're seeing from The Last Jedi, we got to see some more just incredible, little creatures that he made. You have the crystalline wolf that we've seen. We've also seen some of the porgs, the animals that we were talking about. They're going to be showing up on Acto.
Porgs.
So we got to see a couple of those, and then also some of the more alien creatures that we're going to see on the planet of Canto Bight, it looked like. Some of them were dressed up in tiny tuxedos. I mean, the visuals of this movie, like you said, man, they're going to be incredible. I mean, I was just completely blown away seeing these practical effects, and then also seeing some of the set photos, places that we're going to be visiting in this movie. It looks like it's going to be, it can rival, to me. It's that, like, we both loved The Force Awakens, but this one, just from what we've seen here, looks like it could rival it in terms of just how good it is, and set-wise and just visuals overall.
Oh, dude, I mean, this one has the potential to blow TFA out of the water, honestly. I mean, you got to think, it's a middle-act movie. Middle-act movies are always tricky, right? I mean, because you never truly have a true climax. I mean, there is no final resolution in the middle act of a trilogy. So that's always, there's some hairy waters to navigate. But I do think that now that we're more familiar with the new characters and the world and the stakes, there's no way Empire doesn't just blow TFA out of the water in terms of narrative.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much everything's set up. We know the main players. We know where the story is going, at least in a general direction sense. So we're expecting a lot of big moments out of this movie. And just from the behind the scenes, we can already tell that there are going to be some very big moments in this movie that could be, have massive impact on the entire franchise, let alone this new trilogy. So
Yeah, so like Nick said, what we're going to kind of break down, I think it was like a 2-minute video, a little over 2-minute video, and it's all behind the scenes. It's not a trailer. Nothing was like a final production quality type of shot. It was all B-roll for the most part. So we're going to go through frame by frame, or at least the frames that I deemed important, or ones that will be key in the story of The Last Jedi. So, my friend, let's go ahead and start out with the first one I captured. And as I wrote in the article, I don't really know what the hell's going on here. But to me, I think it's Luke's Jedi cave. But the curious part are these bags on the ceiling.
Yeah, it almost looks like tanks of some kind that would be holding creatures, holding something.
Totally.
If you've said, I mean, like everybody here has seen a Bacta tank, it's almost like a small version of a Bacta tank that you're looking at here, and it's multiple of them just hung up across the ceiling. So, yeah, I mean, really no insight into what this is. Obviously, they don't give any kind of, details in this type of video and these types of behind-the-scenes things. You're just getting little flashes of scenes and set pics. So that was a really cool one to kind of open up with. And
now, do you think that that's Luke's cave, or am I reaching there?
It's really tough.
Just
to tell.
look at the middle, though. Like, look at the middle, and we're gonna get to another shot of the cave. But you see how the stones lighten up in the middle?
Yeah.
And that's going to be my comparison point once we get further into the conversation here. But that's the only reason I think it is the cave. But I have no clue what these things could serve. Like, what the purpose is. Maybe they're growing porgs. I don't know. Maybe they're just for the lighting, like the lighting they want to get in a cave. Who knows?
Yeah,
but I thought it was interesting, if anything else.
Yeah. I mean, we all know that, like, sets and stuff like that, filmmakers will use these, weird blue lightings or these gel lightings or anything like that to try to get the exact color temperature that they're trying to get into a certain set. So maybe that's what those things are. They are all blue. They're, and they're, I mean, if you see the way that they're suspended, they're not actually in the cave. They're above the cave. Even they're above the set of the cave. So, like,
right.
It would be really difficult to actually have those in a shot, I would imagine. So maybe it is just used for some sort of, like, maybe shadowing, maybe some sort of, like, blue lighting effect that they were trying to go for. But anyway, it's a pretty interesting first shot. The next one is just as cool. The shot that we see is Skellig Michael, and it's like you said in the post. It's these dome-like structures, almost that looks like some sort of housing or some sort of place that people would stay. Maybe this is where the first Jedi would stay while they were on this planet and training at the first Jedi Temple. Who knows? But they look pretty awesome.
I mean, if you can picture it, people, it's an igloo made out of stones.
Yeah, pretty much.
I mean, more or less, that's what they look like. So I'm guessing it's part of the Jedi Temple. Maybe Luke's chilled in one. Who knows? But obviously, we have this cave, and it looks like he likes to hang out there, too. So maybe that's where he's shacked up. But again, just thought it was a cool shot. Leading to the next one, Nick, we have 4 speeders. Live action, practical. You can't. I mean, I'm assuming there's probably wheels underneath them because we haven't invented hovering vehicles yet. But they look kind of refined. So do you think this is like that planet we've seen set pics of all these people dressed up, and I don't want to say lined up to go to a funeral, but it's some sort of formal event they're showing up at? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. I mean, we know that. We've seen a ton of people dressed up in formal wear. We assume that some of them are from Canto Bight because we saw the pics from the Vanity Fair thing, where a lot of the characters.
Yeah, it could very well be that for sure.
So maybe this is like valet for Canto Bight Casino. Everybody's rolling up in their luxury speeders, drops them off at the front, and then you have whatever creature is the valet, drives them away. But they all do, like, it's definitely not military from what I can tell because they're not uniform in any way. Like,
right. Oh yeah, each one's unique from the next. I mean, they're definitely personal speeders.
Yeah, so we can't really tell by the setting of the shot where this is because it just looks like a wooded area. This might just be like a back lot for a set where things are moved off after they've already had their shots done. But you're right. They do have a very interesting flair to them, and it could be like vehicles just for like these patrons of whatever event that's going to be shown in the movie. So yeah, it's pretty cool looking.
Yeah, I figured they're just rich people.
Yeah.
Next one here, and dude, I'm drawing a blank right now. What planet is this with the red dust? Is it Kate?
Yeah, Crate. C-R-A-I-T.
Crate. Okay, yeah, Crate. So the only reason I pulled this one is just to highlight that Ryan is going for practical effects as much as possible. So some of the shots we saw in the trailer of, we had the First Order walkers in the distance, and then we had these speeders flying through, which, by the way, now I can almost guarantee a resistance because there was a toy leak today of a Poe land speeder, and it had the red dust and all that shit. So probably is resistance speeder, which I think Nick called a few casts back. But anyway, this shot's just great because it's a dude in a trench, clearly with some sort of explosion going off right in front of him, blowing up red dust, sand substance.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much a confirmation that we're going to get some sort of battle on Crate's surface. That's what I thought the first time I saw that shot from the initial trailer release, where you had the land speeder kind of landing in and then forming up with the rest of them, and then in the distance you could see the walkers, the First Order walkers. So now we pretty much know that there's going to be some sort of massive ground battle on Crate, and whether it's going to be like, the First Order trying to defend some sort of outpost from the Resistance, or if it's the Resistance trying to defend from the First Order, making some sort of headway into this planet that they've set up a base on. We don't know, but dude, you're right there. This shot looks really, really good. I mean, the guy with the camera is basically just getting massacred by all this red dust.
Oh yeah,
red
totally.
clay.
He's getting blasted in that shot.
But I mean,
I like seeing that type of shit, especially in a Star Wars movie. I mean, they're serious here.
Yeah. Do you think now that we've seen this, and once we get a little further on, we'll see some other things, some other practical shots too. Do you think that like going into this new trilogy, Kathleen Kennedy and the Lucasfilm Story Group told every director that they brought on, like, hey guys,
dude, I know where you're going. Yes. They want to be so far away from the prequels in terms of the writing, the directing, the acting, and the visual presentation. So I think there's a mandate. Let's keep the CG down to the necessities.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
but I also think all these directors were huge fans of the originals, and that's the vision they have for this universe.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even if you look at the styles of J.J. Abrams and Rian Johnson, if you've seen Rian Johnson's movie Looper, you know that he's like, there were a lot of great practical effects in their practical sets. Everything was built and to look like the time period that it was set in. Well, not really. I mean, Looper was kind of weird because it was like a future thing. So like the dark future time period was like built to look like that. There wasn't a lot of CG in that movie aside from like Joseph Gordon-Levitt's face. But I mean,
weird looking face.
Yeah, it was weird. It was weird. But I mean, JJ was a guy who was always known for like his special effects work. I mean, obviously you have Cloverfield, and then his work in the Star Trek movies were special effects. Just grandstanding huge special effects masterpieces, and then he comes to Star Wars and he actually takes a step back voluntarily and says like, hey, look, I'm a special effects guy, I like my lens flare, but Star Wars is practical. So, and he did an incredible job with the practical effects. I mean, a full Falcon set practical. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing this Last Jedi movie on the big screen to see all the new stuff.
Yeah, because I mean, we have a few more shots to come that are practical, that are impressive. So there's no doubt that it's going to look as authentic as possible, except when needed. So next shot we have here is of our buddy Rey, and she still looks to be wearing her Resistance gear. So I'm assuming this is coming from earlier on in the movie. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, she still got her hair slicked back the same way, too. So, And like you said, she's still wearing the vest, like the brownish gray vest that she was wearing at the end of Episode 7 when she first arrived on Acto and made the long journey up the stairs to find Luke Skywalker. So this is probably early on still. Maybe it's a cave shot from what we can see. The background is very dark. I mean, it's almost blacked out, so you can't see anything behind her.
Yeah, the lighting was weird in this shot. It's definitely not outside Acto, so, I mean, I don't know when this comes from, but it almost looks like she's somewhere where there's electronics. Or it could be the cave door.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe she's, like, standing with her back to the cave, and then she's, like, standing, the sunlight's hitting her face in the cave door. I mean, it's so hard to tell just because there's no other framework, there's no other, like, side shot that we can see anything else from it. But, yeah, I think you're right, though. It's definitely from the beginning of the movie, just based off of her outfit.
And her expression is kind of shady, and I think they revealed a bit of this week, that the relationship between Luke and Rey isn't going to be buddy-buddy. I mean, from what I hear, Luke is kind of taken aback or maybe skeptical of Rey. Like, who the fuck is this person, and what's going on?
Yeah.
I mean, have you heard that?
I mean, I haven't heard that specifically, but hearing it from you, it kind of makes sense, though, because, I mean, that was one thing that we had always kind of tried to pick apart towards the end of Episode 7. Like, we saw the end of Episode 7, and it was like, you know, we saw the look on Luke's face, and we were trying to pick it apart and figure out, like, well, what is he feeling? He looks surprised, he looks confused, he looks almost like he's upset to be found.
Yeah, he's pissed.
Yeah, and like, you would figure that if he knew this girl, you know, let's go with the theory that Rey is Luke's daughter. If he knew that this girl was his daughter, and she just showed up on the planet where he's at holding his lightsaber in her hand, like, you would figure that he would have a different look on his face. So yeah, I mean, and it's completely understandable for Luke to be in a weird state of mind, considering that he's literally watching the universe, or, you know, the galaxy get kind of placed under an oppressive reign again, just like he witnessed during the reign of the Empire when he was younger. So not only is he sequestered himself away and he can't do anything about it, he also probably feels partially responsible, considering that he was responsible for the downfall of Ben Solo, who's now wreaking havoc across the galaxy. So it's not surprising that he's a little shaken and a little apprehensive of this Force use.
I think Luke's going to be fantastic in this episode. I think he's going to be such a different Luke than when we last saw him in Jedi, that it's going to be very special.
Oh yeah, I mean the Luke we saw in Jedi was this idealistic.
Yeah,
you know,
I think he's going to be like a mix of quirky Empire Yoda and Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, that was actually something that Mark Hamill himself came out and said.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, he said that he took a lot of inspiration from Alec Guinness's portrayal of Obi-Wan in the original trilogy to how he plays Luke now in Episode 8. So that's very telling. And as we know, like, Obi-Wan was jaded a bit, you know, in Episode 4.
The dude lived in solitude from what? I mean, how old do you think Obi was when Anakin fell?
Well, I mean, we know how long.
40?
I mean, it was just Luke's entire life, so about 19, 20 years he was there.
Right.
So he's living completely alone from probably, his mid-30s to probably...
I was going to say he was in his
40s.
40s, yeah, maybe late 30s, 40s, because...
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we got to be honest. When he finds Luke, he looks like a very old guy. I mean, he looks easily well into his 50s, if not 60s.
Yeah, for sure. Alec Guinness, I'm not sure what his age was when he started it, but Obi-Wan was old. He looked like an older, maybe early to mid 60s kind of feel. But yeah, I mean, this guy Luke has gone through a lot, and we haven't seen him for just about as long as we haven't seen Obi-Wan in Episode 4, maybe even longer.
Longer, because I believe the span is 39 years.
Yeah, I would say almost 40 years. So, I think you're right. I mean, I think, Hamill's going to knock it out the park, like Bob Iger said, and we mentioned on the last podcast. And then, you know, just from a standpoint of Luke Skywalker himself, I mean, he's going to be such a different character than we've ever experienced before. So it's almost like we have to be reintroduced to him because he's going to be nothing like we remember. So it's going to be really cool to kind of
I do. I think he's going to be a little crazy, like Empire Yoda, like I said. I mean, not like, you know, like hitting R2 and beating him with his cane and stealing that little meat stick. But I think he's going to be a little loopy, so I'm excited for that. So this next shot, it just goes back to a point we were talking about, Nick. Plus, there's two things I want to ask you about. And it's a shot, practical, mind you, of a full Millennium Falcon set with Chewie sitting outside of it with a little campfire going on. So, first off, reinforces our point. I mean, he's going for as authentic as can be. I mean, he has the whole fucking Falcon there. Yeah. And it's clearly on Acto still. So my question is, why do you think Chewie's hanging out by himself?
You know, that it could go back to like that Luke being weird thing that you just said. Like maybe Chewie does make his way up the mountain one time and try to introduce himself to Luke, and then, you know, the interaction doesn't go the way that Chewie expected, and he's just like, you know what, man, maybe I should just roll back to the Falcon and then just chill out there for a little while, wait for Rey to come back, or, you know, both of them to come back, and then make our way out. But it's pretty clear from this shot that Chewie has kind of made his home on the Falcon.
Yeah, I mean, R2's not there. I mean, it's just Chewie.
Yeah. So, yeah,
my guess is that he could be potentially angry, disappointed in Luke for abandoning everybody, and maybe kind of blaming him for Han going down.
Oh yeah, that's a really good point. You know, I mean, Chewie just watched his best friend in the world get killed, and, you know, everybody in the Resistance knew that Luke was out there, and they had this massive fight going on Starkiller Base. Luke Skywalker could have helped out a lot, could have saved Han's life for all Chewie knows, and
you know, Luke knew what was going on. I mean, he's the most, potentially, I mean, unless Snoke's more powerful, he's the most powerful Force user we have at this point in time. So you're telling me he wouldn't be able to reach out and feel his best friend and what was going down and the shady shit they're going into? I mean, look in Empire. He knew they were getting into some shit when he was training with Yoda, and he's like, I gotta leave. My friends are going to get fucked.
Yeah, I mean, and that was very early on in his Jedi
I mean,
training.
he wasn't even a Jedi Knight. I mean, he was a Padawan at that point, if you want to classify him as that, even though he's not non-traditional.
Yeah, so that's going to be an interesting kind of, I mean, I guess it's going to say like a meeting between two characters, between Chewie and Luke, just to see, you know, what Luke says to him. I mean, what do you say to somebody like Chewie who just lost a lifelong friend? And, you know, I mean, like you said, Luke definitely knows that Han is dead. So what do you say? Like, I'm sorry I wasn't there? Like, so you're probably right. Chewie's probably pretty shaken and pretty pissed off at Luke for saying.
If we get any reaction out of Luke to maybe someone mentioning Han outside of "Yes, I know," I'm going to be like, "Fuck you."
Yeah.
I'm like, what do you mean you don't fucking know? Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, and it's going to be even better to see the ultimate meeting between him and Leia, because you know that's coming. Like they're gonna see each other again, and that's not going to be an easy confrontation. Because Leia has been on the front lines. Like, she has been leading this resistance against the First Order, while Luke is just sitting on a fucking island and sulking. I mean, so you know, like, I would hope that when that meeting does happen, like, there might be a tiny bit of joy at first, but I would hope that
she's
Leia
not
lays
mad
into
at him, though. Yeah, well, I mean, I'm glad you just said that, because I'm thinking, I mean, the way she acts in The Force Awakens, it's like she's desperate to find him. Like, gotta find Luke. I mean, gotta find Luke. It's not, this son of a bitch left us, we gotta get him and kick his ass and get him to work for us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think
So maybe there's something more sinister or something way deeper about the fall of Luke's, you know, apprentices, that Leia just knows, like, Luke's only choice was to exile.
Yeah, and it's also interesting that in the very beginning of this behind the scenes, many of the characters stress that, like, a lot of shit's going to happen in this movie that not a lot of people are expecting. Like,
I know. I mean, what the hell does that mean? Are we talking like death after death after death,
yeah,
or betrayals? I mean,
that's the only thing I can think of is like there's this. I mean, it's been out there for a while. I mean, ever since this new trilogy popped up, this idea that Luke Skywalker could somehow turn to the dark side, or not even really turn to the dark side, but turn away from the light, and like. The way that those characters, I mean, well, not the characters, but the way that the actors were talking in the beginning of this behind the scenes, it makes me almost think that that could be a possibility, especially since, like you said earlier, Luke is in a weird place mentally. We've already heard him say the line, the Jedi must end, and I think we all assumed at the time, like, okay, well, he probably just means that, the Jedi as it was constructed, something we talked about on the cast with the original trailer drop. But I mean, who knows? Maybe he has kind of turned his back on the light a little bit, and that brings about some
fuck his
events.
Dad's Darth Vader.
Yeah.
I mean, it runs in the family, right?
Yeah, and I mean, his nephew is also
Yeah, Jesus Christ, they're all fuck ups. I mean, that's what we learned about the Skywalkers, is that their true power with the Force is the fact that they can be masters of either side in the flip of a switch.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's like their supremacy over all other Force users.
I mean, the only Skywalker Force user that we haven't seen really utilize their powers, Leia, at all. I mean, obviously we know that she has the ability to connect with Luke, and
she can sense.
Yeah, we've never seen any sort of outward use of Force from her. But yeah, I mean, just the way that people are talking about this movie and the way that people are saying, especially with Daisy Ridley saying right in the beginning, like, yes, this is a continuation movie. This is a second in a trilogy, but it feels like a movie that can stand on its own. Like, that in itself goes to show you that there are going to be moments in this movie that are encapsulated in full within just this movie. So it doesn't rely on storylines from 7 or storylines that will lead into 9 to have the full effect of what's going to happen. So who knows? I mean, there could be some powerful shit that happens in here that really we're just looking past, because we have this assumption that like Luke's ultimate goal is to either redeem Kylo or to kill him and dispatch the First Order, but we don't even know if that's the case anymore.
Yeah, Luke could go off the fucking rails.
Yeah, I mean, it's very possible. I mean, and if you have a Force user like that go off the rails, then your fucking Resistance is in a lot of trouble. So that could be something that we need to look out for.
I don't know. He ain't going to do it. He ain't going to do it. I mean, he passed the hardest dark side test of all time. I mean, he literally resisted murdering his father after he beat him to join the Emperor, knowing that he was going to eat lightning.
Yeah, but I mean, like, that he knew that he had his team behind him. I mean, he knew that there was an army of rebels out there waiting to blow up the Death Star. He knew he had Han and Leia on the planet's surface along with another band of rebels there to help take down the shield generator. He wasn't alone, but now he's alone, and he's
I don't even think
really
he cared
alone.
At that point. I honestly think his sole focus was on his father and redeeming his father.
Well, it wasn't even just that. It was that when the fight got big is when he felt like when Vader called out Leia, when he said sister, and then that's when Luke really went crazy.
Well, yeah, he started to tap into the dark a bit.
Yeah, so I don't know, man. It's interesting when somebody's isolated like that with just their thoughts and their failures just eating away at them constantly.
Oh, yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. I mean, Yoda's probably the only person that could handle it. And Obi-Wan too, but not as long as Yoda lives, so.
Yeah, exactly. So it's going to be interesting, and, I really want to see.
I mean, honestly, this is like a world record gold medal tangent we just went on. This all stems from a shot of the Millennium Falcon.
I know, right?
I love it.
So many things. There's so many things that could happen from it.
I love it. So this next shot is just as interesting as the last. And we have Finn with A new haircut or a permanent scar, but B, more importantly, that dude's wearing a Resistance flight suit.
Yeah, that's clearly a flight suit like we saw. It's not the same color as Poe's, but it is the same style, the white vest with the, I guess you would call it like the fire suit under it. This, the one that Finn's wearing right now is yellow, tattered, looks like he's been in a battle
it's like a dark mustardy yellow.
Yeah, and no real set that he's on here. We just kind of see him standing again behind the scenes. You can see just some levers and pulleys and shit like that in the background. Looks like a set guy standing right next to him. But it's a pretty cool new look for him. Obviously,
so, okay. Do you think it's a new haircut or scar?
I think he's just rocking a new do.
All right.
He just got his fucking back sliced in half.
Yeah,
got out of the recovery chamber. He's like, give me a new cut, and I'm ready to get out there and shoot
he's
down
going for the
fucking
side style.
Yeah, man, he looks good.
So do you think we're going to see Finn get in a Resistance ship? I mean, an X-wing, an A-wing, because we do get a shot of those too coming up.
He's got to be in some sort of. Maybe he's a gunner. I don't see him as a pilot.
I want to see him in an X-wing so bad. I think it'd be badass.
It would be really cool to see him in the pilot seat of an X-wing, but I just don't know if he's a pilot. Like, because he was the gunner in the X-wing when
totally. I don't think he can fucking fly a spaceship.
Yeah, but so I'd probably see him in maybe like a Y-wing in the gunner's seat, or maybe a bigger craft and not the pilot seat. But we'll see. Do you think that this shot with him in this uniform is coming before or after his infiltration mission with Kelly Marie Tran? Because we've already seen
after. I think this is the final act of the movie type of shit right here.
Like gearing up for the final battle.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's my guess.
All right.
So this next shot, dude, the more I look at it, the more I start to think that the first shot we are talking about is all for lighting.
Yeah. Because you can definitely see the blue kind of shade.
Totally.
A little
I
bit.
mean, it's a clear contrast from the left side of the cave, which is more of a warm lighting, and then where Luke and Ryan are sitting down. I mean, there's a clear blue hue added to it. So I think that's more or less what we were seeing. It's a weird way to achieve it, but you got to do what you got to do to get the effect you want to get. I just think it's cool to see that kind of the scope of the cave. I mean, it's much bigger than we were led to believe from the first trailer.
Yeah, it looked kind of small in the first trailer because, I mean, I guess the only real frame of reference we had was when Luke was standing in the entrance to it, and he pretty much took up the whole thing. So,
yeah.
But now we get into the interior, and I mean, Ryan and Mark look tiny in this cave. But yeah, I mean, that's obviously this cave is going to be a very pivotal place, very pivotal location for this entire film. A lot's going to be learned, and maybe, who knows, maybe a lot's going to be lost just in that cave. But
do you think these guys are on Acto for 2/3 of the movie?
I think it's going to be deep into Act 2 until they get off.
Yeah.
Probably like right before Act 3 starts, like, maybe Chewie gets a transmission on the Falcon.
Yeah,
and
that's what I meant. Like they kind of show up for the final push.
Yeah, exactly.
Of whatever the major plan, because we're going to have a major, like an overarching plan going on from the Resistance side, and from First Order, they're going to have their counter plan or their world galaxy domination scheme.
Yeah, for sure. This next shot, man, this is a very, very good shot of Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, she looks great. I mean, this is the type of shit that's going to kill me when I watch this movie, because, it's just going to be like, man, really?
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
this is it? Like, we're not going to get a true send-off. I mean, we're not going to get her actual story that they wrote initially, and that's just going to bum me out, because anytime any artist like that has to make a course correct of that nature, it's never going to be as good, to them at least, as the original.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it can't be, to be completely honest with you. Even if, they would have spent, months trying to rewrite an ending for General Leia, it would have never lived up to the full story arc that they had planned for this trilogy. Just because of how pivotal of a character she is. I mean, she played I don't want to say a minor role, but she played a secondary role in The Force Awakens. She was more there as, as the character that we knew and loved who had taken a new position, but she wasn't really that outward force that she was in the original trilogy. And I'm positive that the story group had an incredible arc planned for Leia in this movie, and we're just never going to get to see it, so we're just going to have to settle with whatever they have.
Right. I mean, it's documented that 9 was supposed to be her breakout.
Yeah, her movie.
Like back to Leia being one of the leads.
Yeah.
Because Nick's right. I mean, TFA, she shows up essentially in the last act. And it's just brief thing, confirmation of Han and her, and okay.
Yeah, and I mean...
So it's a bummer. The only other thing I kind of was trying to pick from this shot is, do you think she's on Crate there, just by the look of the background, or do you think this is a whole other planet?
This is such a weird shot, because actually, like, the first time I saw it, I thought it was Acto, because I thought that, like, looking out into the horizon with, like, the fog, I thought that might have been the ocean, and this is, like, the beachfront area where you would kind of first come onto the island. But it could be Crate. The only thing, I mean, like, we've never seen Crate in this sort of lighting sense. Obviously you have the sand and stuff like that, and what looks like some rocky, craggy areas. So it could be like Crate, like post-battle, or it could be Crate at night, or, going into the dusk, time of the day. But I think it would be amazing if it was Acto. Like, because they know where he's at now. It's not just Rey and, Chewie. I mean, everybody.
They have the fucking map. They got the droids. I mean, it's not like R2 couldn't just dump that shit into BB-8.
Yeah, so what if, Rey and Luke are on Acto for a while. Leia's sitting there like, hey, we fucking need help. And she just goes out there. Like, she jumps in a ship and she jumps to the hyperspace, goes to Acto, and then she shows up. And then that's the confrontation between Luke and Leia. I think that would be awesome.
Yeah, if anything else, she looks very troubled.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly the state that she would be in if she felt like she had to go to this wayward planet to get in touch with her own brother because of, whatever's happening right
boy.
now.
He's going to be talking backwards and shit. I can't wait.
Can you imagine if, like, the first line we get from him is in Yoda speak? Fucking
Luke, am I? Yeah, he's like... So, anyway, speaking of Luke, this next shot, I can't wait to see this. And this has got to be within, what do you think, the first 5 shots of the movie?
Oh, yeah, it's definitely within...
It's the handoff. I mean, it's the handoff of Rey handing back the Skywalker family saber to Luke, who's in his Jedi Master attire.
Yep, you can see the green tape around his
so
fingers.
Anakin looking, by the way, isn't he?
Yeah,
with the hair. Doesn't that hair just scream Anakin?
He's rocking the long hair just like Anakin was in Episode 3. Yeah, I mean... And then even the garb, even though it's not black like Anakin's was, it's very similar. I mean, I know that this is just a general garb of a Jedi,
His
Jedi
robe's
Jedi
very
Knight.
light. For a Jedi, his robe's very light. His tunic is very Obi-Wan Kenobi prequel era.
Yeah. So, and it just look at his face as he's looking down at this lightsaber.
He's just dumbfounded, dude.
Yeah, he's like, there was no thought in his mind
he's like,
that
how
he would
the
ever see that again.
Fuck is this back?
I mean, because if you think about it from his perspective, I mean, that fucking lightsaber fell down
with his hand.
Yeah. So it's gone. It's been gone for 50 years. And then all of a sudden, this girl just hands it to him. Like,
right. Hey, what's up? I found you. Yeah. Surprise.
Yeah, I mean, do we think that he still has his green saber from Episode 6? I mean...
I hope to God. I mean... I read something like, oh man, we don't know, no confirmation, yada yada yada. Is he gonna have a new one? Is he not? I mean, as a longtime fan I would literally maybe cry if he lit up the green saber.
It would be.
But you know what,
moment.
dude? The more I think about it, I think he tossed it away.
He did. I mean,
when he defeats his dad,
it to the side. I don't remember if it fell off the shaft.
Right. I mean, he's technically on like a little bridge thing, so there wasn't a lot of room for it to slide off. And I don't know when he would have had time to grab it unless we didn't see it.
I mean,
they could easily, they could easily use Hollywood and just say, yeah, sure, he kept it.
I mean, they did the same thing to fucking Kylo's mask. Like, we were almost positive that thing was gone, but apparently he still got it. So
yeah, it was on the bridge of
Starkiller base, and then when he's fighting Rey and
he
Finn,
kept his fucking saber, which you and I both thought that she broke.
Dude, I really think that saber it made the sound of a saber breaking.
It
so like
sparked.
Yeah, it sparked. You could see in just the way that her her saber was going down the blade of his, and when it hit the hilt, you heard this. You saw the spark, and then you heard exactly. So the first thing that everybody thought was like, damn, she just cut the saber. And apparently either he had another one already or that one didn't break. Yeah.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Speaking of our buddy Kylo, the next shot is him in his redefined costume, which is essentially he's now wearing grandfather's cape.
Yeah, he's got Papa's cape on. Still rocking the
same underbody. Like if he wasn't wearing the shaggy shit from TFA, because trust me, I have the action figure, like 10 different versions of him, and that's his tunic underneath. It's just a black smock almost with the belt around it.
Yeah, it looks pretty much the same, like you said. He hasn't changed his.
But it's total Vader cape.
Yeah, I mean it looks. It's just the thing to me is like. Wearing a Vader cape is so impractical in battle. It's just going to get in the way. It does look
because Vader did have people. Count Dooku had a cape, but his was like a true cape. Like it literally was just this little thing that kind of hung briefly over his shoulders. I mean, Vader's cape literally it was kind of like a magician's cape. He could wrap it around his whole body and disappear if he wanted to. It was huge.
I mean, I think wasn't there a shot in one of the movies of him like falling down and you could see the cape kind of like fly a little bit or something? It's just like the cape with Sith. I just don't understand it. But yeah, I mean, clearly more inspiration from his grandfather, as we would assume. Kylo is a huge proponent, huge follower of the dark side, and just he draws all of his influence on the way he builds himself from his grandfather. So, yeah, I mean, it's a cool shot, and this is clearly on the bridge of some sort of capital ship, right? I mean, this elevator looks almost exactly like the elevator from the Death Star if you look at it.
Yeah,
I mean,
totally.
It's definitely got a design that's similar.
Yeah,
and
he's
some sort
first
of
order somewhere.
Across. Yeah, so very cool looking shot, very cool looking set. I'm really interested to see where the character of Kylo Ren's going to go in this movie.
He's key to it all. Next shot here, only reason the show is this, we kind of saw it in the trailer, it's this Resistance hangar blowing up. But the interesting thing here is that it's confirmed that we are going to have A-Wings in the Resistance fleet.
Yep.
So
we got two
they're going to get blown up along with Poe's pimp-ass Black Leader ship, but there are going to be A-Wings. So the Resistance... just like the First Order, are mimicking those that came before them.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, the A-Wings have gone all the way back to the time of, I mean, not even just the rebellion, but back to the Old Republic, because the A-Wing was essentially modeled off of Jedi starfighters. So it's really cool to see those ships back in play. Dogfights with those are always pretty interesting to watch, just because they're so nimble and agile. They can move around. They can get some pretty interesting positioning on the enemy. So, yeah, hopefully we don't get to just see them blown up and we get to see some A-Wings in combat action.
Next up, dude, I'm really digging these troopers, and I hope we get an action figure based on them. And they are the First Order variety, but they now have these kind of matte black shoulder pauldrons.
Yeah.
And these killer-ass like staffs with they're almost like ice pick type of hooks if you're going to use ice hooks to climb a fucking cliff.
Yeah, it's really cool the way that they're set up too. Do you think they can like clamp together maybe? Because it looks like they're set up in a way to where they can almost like
it's.
They can, like,
I mean, these
close.
guys are clearly meant for some sort of melee combat.
Yeah, so we've already seen, you know, the TR-8R. That wasn't his real call signal, guys. We all know the guy who yelled traitor at fucking Finn in Episode 7. We saw him wielding some melee weaponry then, and now we have these two troopers here that are clearly ready for some hand-to-hand, maybe even lightsaber to staff combat.
Now, do you think because of the new armor here that they're some sort of special forces unit or
special operations? I mean, because you can actually, if you look off screen, well, not even really off screen, but to the very right of the shot,
another guy, just a regular,
he's just got the white shoulder pauldron. So maybe, maybe these
guys are definitely special
elite troopers or something like that. A new division, and they even have a symbol of some sort on the shoulder, so that's not something that we've ever seen on a first order trooper before.
Yeah, it doesn't really look like the first order symbol.
Yeah, it's almost like a variation of the Imperial,
of the Empire. Of the Imperial symbol. More spokes or more notches in it.
Yeah, for sure. Really cool. It's going to be cool to see who these guys fight and who they're expected to fight, because, I mean, most of the time when you see combat in the Star Wars universe, it's either, you know, two lightsaber wielders going at each other, or it's just purely gun battle.
Yeah, or full-on war.
Yeah.
Right?
So I really want to see, like, what these guys are using these staffs for, because I don't think that they're going to have a division of First-Order troopers that are trained specifically to fight the one Jedi that's in the galaxy. I mean, that just doesn't seem practical to me. But we'll see. I mean, they're clearly going to be put to use if they're featured in the behind the scenes like this.
Next shot here, dude, just kind of goes back to the whole practical aspect of this film. So we don't have to spend a ton of time on it. And you actually mentioned the crystallized wolf here, which is fucking awesome, right?
Yeah. I mean, it looks incredible. The animal that's on the left, dude, that looks like a real thing. Like, it doesn't even look.
Yeah, I mean, there's a dude sitting there, and I'm like, yeah, that could be in a fucking zoo somewhere on an alien planet.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing about that looks like it's fake. That looks like it's a prop. I mean, that looks like a real animal. So it's just, again, just to stress how good the practical effects are going to be in this movie, and I'm really interested to see where we're going to see these animals at, especially this wolf. I mean, do you think that this crystallized wolf could be some kind of special creature that we see on Acto?
I mean, if the rumors that this movie is going to feature animals with force abilities or that are tied to the force, this wolf definitely is a candidate for that, in my opinion.
I mean, you would have to think so.
I mean, he looks like the force, literally. Like if the force was alive. I mean, he just needs to be glowing blue a bit to me, and that's literally the force reincarnate. Yeah,
I mean, incredible work. Next shot we get is of Maz Kanata, played by Lupita Nyong'o. So we don't get to see Maz herself. We get to see Lupita in the full CG get up. We just see her face, and then obviously she's got the little dots that are around her face to do the motion capture and stuff like that. So cool shot. Nice to know that Maz is going to be back in this film.
Yeah, just tell us about Luke's lightsaber. That's her only purpose at this point, right?
How did you get this? Well, but we also have confirmation, though, I mean, from deleted scenes, that Maz Kanata is a Force user herself.
Right.
So do you think that she mixes it up a little bit? Does she get in there and maybe, throw some Force pushes around, kill some stormtroopers and stuff?
Yeah, possibly. If she gets into the thick of things, yeah. But she's definitely not going to believe in any sort of structured learning of the Force.
Yeah, she is the storyteller of this movie. Like you said, we saw her at her facility in episode
she's like
7.
Yoda. I mean, for what we know, she's easily as old, if not older, than Yoda, I believe.
Yeah. So I'm glad to see that she's back in this movie, and I'm more interested to see what new story she's going to tell us about? Are we going to learn about Luke's lightsaber? Is she going to educate Rey on something else? Maybe Luke is too traumatized to talk about the fall of his Jedi Academy, and it takes Maz to really break that down. Like, hey, this is what happened. Or maybe she's not telling Rey, but somebody else. Like, this is, what came to be. This is how Luke Skywalker became the Luke Skywalker he is now, as opposed to the Luke Skywalker he was. So I'm really...
She could be deep. Short, but deep.
Definitely so.
Next shot here, we get to see Laura Dern as Vice Admiral Holdo. And she's talking to Leia, right?
Yeah, you can tell by the hair. You can also tell by the coat, the wide neck.
Yeah, the cape, the cloak, whatever you want to call it. So we do know, obviously with the title of Vice Admiral, it almost sounds more prestigious than General.
Yeah. This may be one of those handoff moments that I was talking about in previous casts, to where like Leia is kind of handing over the reins of the Resistance to Laura Dern's character. It also looks like, Vice Admiral Holdo, if you look at her face, it almost looks like she's just honored to be in the presence of General
totally.
Leia.
Like, this is like meeting a hero type of moment.
Oh, yeah. Sure. She is. Luke and Han and Leia, they are...
They're legends.
Galactic.
They're fucking legends. They're goddamn legends.
Yeah.
And you got to think about what these three did. By themselves, they single-handedly took down the Empire.
Yeah, it was...
All the key missions, like, without their key achievements, doesn't happen.
So, just if Amilyn Holdo has been in the Resistance for any amount of time, and if she was if she was alive, she looks like she could be, maybe early 40s, would you say? Maybe early mid-40s. So if she was alive at all during the time of the Imperial reign, then she'll know the stories, or she's probably heard the stories from her parents about, the heroine of the galaxy. So to be in her presence is probably just shocking at the very least. It's really cool to see a shot like this.
Next shot, it's nothing really special. I just really appreciate the shot, and it's of Daisy Ridley running, and we saw this finished scene in the trailer. It's her running with her saber lit up. So really, the interesting thing is here, I still think this is Acto, but is this what's the battle all about? Because she's still wearing her Resistance gear, and the reason I keep making a point of that, because we're eventually going to get to a shot where she's wearing very different type of clothes. It's a gray version of her Jakku outfit, essentially.
Yeah, so...
Which she's not wearing in this shot yet, so this could be an early part of the movie.
Yeah, so maybe it's like a training sequence. Maybe this is like a montage that we get in the beginning or towards like the end of the first act of the movie, where she's, running Jedi sprints around, around the island on Acto or something like that. But it was really weird if you think back to the original trailer. This shot of her running, like you said, zoomed in on her face, lightsaber lit, was juxtaposed to Kylo. That was the first shot of Kylo when he lifts his saber up and we see his eyes with the scar. So like the first time I saw that, I was like, oh shit, is this like Rey running into a fight with Kylo? But now that we're seeing the other side of this shot where we can see the water, it very clearly is Acto. And it's probably... So those two shots, even though they were juxtaposed to each other in the original trailer, probably not like leading into a fight between the two people. Yeah,
I love the tone of the lighting, and it's all natural. It's just a beautiful shot. I can't wait to see the final moment, or the finish moment here.
Absolutely.
Next one, who do we get? A nice and shined up Captain Phasma. Nothing special here, just confirming that yes, she did survive the trash compactor that Chewie, Han, and Finn stuffed her in at The Force Awakens. And she's got a new shiny, scuff-free set of armor.
Yep, still rocking the cape off of one shoulder. Man, you know, people on the bad side really love their capes. I mean, even down to like the Imperial Guards in their all red suits with the red fucking capes. I mean, they look badass though, I gotta say.
Yeah, dude, capes rule.
If I'm dressing up as a Sith or a you know, an Imperial or a First Order person for Halloween, you got to rock a cape. So, but I think that she's going to play a much bigger role in this movie, and I think a lot of people were upset in Episode 7 that we had this huge female lead that was brought in, and Gwendolyn Christie, obviously of Game of Thrones fame. You know, you bring in a character like that, and she essentially has, 10 minutes of airtime, if that? Like, she wasn't on the screen that much.
Few lines, nothing big.
Yeah, so hopefully we get to see her in combat, because that's what she's, you know, looks like she's known for. She is a, you know, captain in the First Order Army, and we also saw in the trailer that looks like she was walking through the you know, rubble
she
of a battle.
Her and her squad just blew something the fuck up.
Yeah. Do you think that it was their squad that took down the ship that Poe and BB-8 were on? And she, like, that shot we get, it's like her walking on the ship, like, after boarding it?
Yeah, potentially. I could see that.
Could be. Next shot we get is finally we get to see the full extent of Kylo's scar, going all the way from the bottom of his eye to, I mean, it goes all the way down his neck and even under his collar.
She got him good.
Yeah, it was not.
And we know this is a revised scar too. I mean, she drug it essentially from his collar, if not deeper, up through under his eye. And not really over the nose anymore, but then up straight up through the forehead.
Dude, you know what would be cool? Like, we know that this scar goes over his eye. What if it comes out in this movie that that's like an animatronic eye he's got?
It could be cool. That would be cool if that happened, for sure.
I mean, because how do you have that scar continuation from the bottom of the eye to literally right above the eye without hitting his eye?
Right, exactly. That's a good point.
So I think
it would be even better if he just let his eye die and it like turned white.
Yeah. There's a lot of movie villains that have something similar to that.
Actually, I have a custom head that someone made for me for one of my figures that portrays Kylo with a very similar scar, bald head, and that eye is white.
Dude, that be...
it's super rad.
Yeah, I think it would be really cool, but we'll see. No word on the status of his eye from any of the leaks from the movie, but I think it would be pretty cool if it wasn't just a superficial mark. You know, a scar is a scar. Yeah, it looks kind of shitty. It's because it's on your face, but I mean, like, if Rey took an eye from him, that would just ramp it up even more.
Oh yeah, totally. That's badass, man. That's better than cutting off his hand.
Yeah. So yeah, this next shot, Luke, we get to see Luke in a different attire than what we did in
this is what I call his Radagast the Brown.
Yeah, from
robe, right? From Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I mean, why do you think he changes into this?
I don't know, dude.
Is this his training gear or what? I mean, it's just weird that he goes from these almost regal-looking Jedi Master robes that are very traditional Jedi to basically back to farm boy Luke.
Yeah, I mean, maybe this is his traveling gear. You know, it looks like he's got some kind of pack slung over his shoulder, you know, probably carrying some supplies. Maybe he and Rey are getting ready to... Actually, you can see Rey behind the camera. If you take a very close look at the left-hand side of that image... Right between the boom mic operator and the camera, you can see Rey right there kind of looking in Luke's direction. It looks like he's calling back to her in some sort of way. Maybe they're getting ready to go out on some sort of, you know, force hike or something like that. And Luke's got his hiking gear on. And Rey's just kind of like, hey, what the fuck's going on, man? What are you doing? She looks confused.
Yeah, so... it's just interesting that he changes things up. It's also another reason to release a different figure to fleece more money out of people like me.
Yep.
Next shot's pretty cool, and I think this is the first time that we're going to see Finn wake up from his back-to-tank nap.
Yeah.
Right? Because it like, you can see it, this dome starts to crack open.
Yeah, definitely. And he's still wearing, like, if you look on him, he's still wearing that, what almost looked like body armor, like this recovery suit that he was wearing inside of the tank at the end of Episode 7 is still on him. This could be very early on in the movie. Probably one of the first shots that we see back at Resistance Base is maybe, Finn coming out of this, being updated on the status of everything. Because you got to figure if he's still, if he's coming out of this in the movie, he's unaware of the circumstances. I mean, he was out cold from his fight with Kylo. So he's going to have to be brought up to speed on a lot of what's happening now. Like, what happened to Starkiller Base? Where is Rey? What happened to Kylo? Can I walk? Like, what the fuck happened? Do I have a mechanical spine now? So he's got to be brought up to speed on a lot of stuff.
Totally. So Finn's going to have an impactful story, as will this next character we see, which is Kelly Marie Tran's Rose, who we get to see in an even better shot coming up here in a few segments, but her and Finn are essentially going to be the new buddy in this movie.
Yeah. I mean, everybody kind of assumed that before the announcement of Kelly Marie Tran's character that, the pairing would be Finn and Poe, but clearly we have Finn and Rose together in these circumstances. Poe's going to be off with his buddy BB-8 doing other stuff for the Resistance. But yeah, like you said in the post, she definitely looks like she's some sort of mechanic. She's wearing, her attire is not one of a fighter. It doesn't look like, at the very least. It looks like she's, maybe a starship kind of engineer, maybe a starship mechanic of some sort. Where she's sitting definitely looks like she's in the dregs somewhere. She's not like on a bridge or anywhere. She's in the workings. So really cool to see, and I'm can't wait to see how we first get introduced to her, because up to this point we really had no idea who she is.
Yeah, I think she'll be memorable. I think she's going to be the next breakout star of the Star Wars universe, but you never know. It could be this guy who's in our next shot, and we get to see him with his hat for the first time. And this is Benicio del Toro's DJ, which again is not his name. That was the code name used on set. And really the interesting thing here to me is that BB-8's with him.
Yeah, you can see BB-8's head right under the right before the shot cuts off. And clearly, I mean, DJ Benicio del Toro's character is looking at somebody who's off screen right now. So maybe Poe is right there, trying to get information from them. It looks like they're on some sort of high-value starship. This thing looks pretty spick and span. You can see stairs in the background leading up to some sort of threshold, doorway, whatever you want to call it. So maybe, Poe learned some information about this guy DJ or whatever his name is his actual name is in the movie, and then he went on a mission to kind of meet him, ends up on this guy's ship, and then we see where it goes from there. But yeah, I mean, this guy, like we had said in previous casts, like Benicio del Toro is not going to be brought in to a movie of this caliber, of this size for a role that's going to be 5 minutes. He's going to play a very important role in this movie, as is Laura Dern's character. So it's just a mystery right now as to what his role is going to be. Like, is he, a good guy? Is he a bad guy? Is he a neutral guy? Is he somebody that used to be with the Resistance and doesn't want, left? Is he some sort of intelligence officer? Who knows? I mean, DJ, can we get anything from DJ? Does it mean Dr. something? Dr. J? Does it mean, can we get anything from Dr. J, like the fucking basketball player? Who knows? But, yeah, I mean, this is a pretty cool shot. And lots of questions around this guy, but no answers yet.
Yep. But he is hanging out with BB. Next shot is looks like some sort of stunt training for Adam Driver, and he is clearly holding his tri-pronged lightsaber. but he's fighting these dudes with these staffs or pikes. So clearly these guys know how to handle themselves, and their weapons can defend against the fury of a lightsaber.
Yeah. Now, if we think who in the galaxy would have weapons that are designed to fight against lightsabers, there's only two sides that can have them. You have the Resistance and you have the First Order. Because those are the only two sides or two factions in the galaxy that knowingly have an adversary that use a lightsaber. The First Order has Luke Skywalker, and then the Resistance has Kylo Ren. So they're the only ones with need of weapons that could fight against lightsabers. Now the real question is, and the most important question is who is he fighting? Is he fighting the First Order, or is he fighting the Resistance? We've already seen the shots of the stormtroopers or the First Order troopers that were holding staff-like weapons. So maybe this is a switch. Maybe this is the third act fight where Kylo switches sides, or maybe he's, going against the First Order's, wishes. Maybe he's not really on the good side, but maybe he's kind of off the rails, and Snoke sends somebody after him to go try to pick him up and get him back on the right side of things. Or maybe he's, fighting against people in the Resistance who also have weapons like this. Who knows? But there's a lot of questions, a lot of could-be fights around here. But it's really cool to see this kind of training going on, and see Adam Driver really in the thick of things. So what do you think about this? What were your initial thoughts when you saw this picture?
I was like, these could potentially be his Knights of Ren, and like you said, there's some sort of change of heart.
Yeah.
Or these are some sort of capable fighters, probably on the Resistance, right? Because they're probably not going to introduce some new major faction that opposes the First Order that somehow can combat a dude with a lightsaber.
Yeah, more than likely not. I mean, I'm just trying to think back to the image of the Knights of Ren and picture their weaponry. I know at least one person on their side had a really huge weapon, it was almost like Claymore sized, if not bigger. And one of them was for sure using a staff weapon of some sort. So it could be. I mean, he could be fighting his own knights. Maybe this is even just a training exercise between him and the Knights of Ren.
Yeah, totally. We could be completely blowing this up for no reason, and he's just getting some sweat in.
Yeah, exactly. He's got an upcoming, he knows a battle's coming up between him and Luke or something like that. He's got to get some reps in, so he hooks up with his buddies and is like, hey, look, I know it's going to be Luke, and I know it's going to be Rey too. So I need two of you come at me, and I need to get my shit together before this fight. So lots of possibilities.
That'd be pretty thoughtful in his aspect. Next one here, I just thought it's funny. You got, I'm pretty sure it's Huxley pimping some badass Batmobile style First Order land speeder.
Oh yeah, dude, this definitely looks like something that General Hux would be in. I mean, just knowing him, seeing his style from Episode 7, he looks like he would be one to live in the life of luxury if he had the opportunity to. And like you said, dude, this is no joke. This thing is huge. The front end on this vehicle is just massive. It looks like you got some plush seats in the back, the dual ion engine, motors in the back. If it's ion engines, it could be, repulsor lift engine, whatever they are. This thing looks like it's costs quite a few credits from the First Order's coffers. Very nice looking.
Yeah, it's very styling though, and he's all done up in his Nazi-like gear. So, yeah. Do you think this is some sort of First Order controlled planet, home planet, or what? Because
that's something that we really
it looks pretty hoity-toity and not just like something you'd rent on another planet.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's another thing that we really haven't thought about, bringing up the idea of where is the First Order's home base now, because their home base was Starkiller Base. It was the fucking giant weapon, and we saw that get blown up. So they have to have some sort of new base of operations now after episode 7, so I would assume that, wherever they are, they probably have, quarters set up for all of the high-ranking members of their, society, and General Hux is definitely one of them, so I would guess so. I guess that this is probably on wherever the First Order's new home base is. Pretty cool for sure.
And this is probably the next shot coming up, one of my favorite, only because of the implications. And it's a shot of Daisy doing some sort of stunt training, and she's literally with one hand in her lightsaber defending against 3 dudes with the same style stance, grip, and staff as we saw Kylo fighting, which is even more curious now I think about it.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at it, it's all like kendo-style grips that we're seeing. I mean, we know just from Star Wars history that a lot of lightsaber combat style was built off of the Japanese, samurai style, Japanese kendo style of fighting. So we know that for a fact already. But like you said, dude, like these people look very similar. And just the weaponry that they're using, the way that they're holding it, it's curious. It's very curious. So like, all right, so could this be the situation, like, maybe they're not on the right, like they're not on the same side. Maybe, Rey and Kylo aren't on the same side, but maybe they're in a situation to where whoever they're fighting against is more important to escape from than it is for them to fight each other.
Dude, I mean, I don't know how you can argue that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
It lines up perfectly that Rey and Kylo or Ben are fighting the same style of warrior.
Yeah, exactly. And
so how does that happen? I mean, how does that even happen? They have to be in the same location, and for some reason they're both being attacked by the same faction, which doesn't make sense as of right now.
No, it really doesn't. And I mean, they're both being attacked by multiple people, like you said. Rey is fending off 3 in the previous shot. Kylo was fighting against 2. It's very weird. It's very weird circumstances that we could have here. And who knows, maybe that surprising thing that nobody saw coming is, Kylo straying from the First Order. He doesn't have to go back to the Resistance, but maybe he's, something happened with Snoke. We already know that he's got some doubts in his head after killing Han. Like, hey, I'm not stronger, dude. What the fuck is going on? You literally told me, like, I killed my dad and I get stronger. I don't feel like that. So something's not right. So there's already distrust there. And who knows, dude? I'm really... There's going to be a lot of excellent...
Like you said at the top of the cast, that everyone's going into this saying... You're about to see shit go down that you probably have no clue that's going down. So maybe they're not bullshitting. I'm going to skip the next shot. I don't really think it's that impactful. We already talked about the practical aliens. But I do want to talk about this little guy here. This little, as they were described almost to a T, these penguin-like owl creatures. The Porg. And really the interesting thing here is that they're practical.
Yeah, fully practical.
They're animatronics.
That's really interesting, considering that they're supposed to play a really big role in the time on Acto, right? I mean, that's what we were led to believe, that these porgs...
Well, they probably do some CG shit, too, I guess, if it gets on a grand scale. But I think at least if they're going to be Luke and Rey, I'm talking about, interacting with them on a one-on-one nature, that they'll probably be animatronic.
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. Dude, I hope if they come out with like a small... figure, like, battery.
Oh, this will be a Funko
figure.
Pop, motherfucker. This will be, it's going to be a Funko Pop.
Oh yeah, for sure it's going to be a Funko. But if they just take the regular Porg body, scale it down to like 1/8, and then have it battery power where it'll like blink and shit, and I can hit a button and it'll like do its little Porg, I'll buy one of those.
Yeah,
I'll get
yeah,
one.
Totally. Yeah, why not? Me too. Sign me up. But it was cool we finally got to see him because they were teased so much as being so critical. Next shot here, kind of interesting. Do you think, kind of how I phrased it, is he looking at someone that's locked up, or is he locked up himself? And if you look to the left now, I'm pretty sure he's locked up with Rose.
Yeah, you can see her ponytail off to the side.
Yeah.
I mean, it looks like he's locked up, because honestly, like, that looks like a big-ass kind of, like, combination lock that's right in front of him, like, on that door. So maybe it could be that he's locked up, or he's looking through a door at something that he can't reach. Maybe he's... I mean, obviously, he's on a mission with Rose. Did they get captured and they're behind bars now? Or are they on their way to something and they find themselves on the opposite side of a locked door that they can't get past? It's one of those situations. To me, it looks more like he's caught than he's trying to get somewhere.
Yeah, because it's not like we can see a gun in his hand or anything.
Yeah, for sure. He's staring off at somebody like he's watching somebody walk away, probably. But yeah, so we'll see. We'll see where that one goes.
Well, the next shot could be why they're locked up, and they're doing the old Jin and Cassian routine.
Yep. Getting in full First Order garb, trying to do an infiltration mission. I gotta say, man, Finn looks good. Like, he's dressed to the nines, got his shit all straight. Rose's character, on the other hand, looks completely out of place.
Yeah,
her
she looks kind of
crooked.
disheveled.
Yeah, her hat's crooked, and her hair is not her hair is not done up to First Order standards, I would imagine.
Yeah, I don't think Snoke would put up with that type of bullshit.
No, he seems like a pretty heavy-handed character. So this is probably the beginning of their infiltration mission, wouldn't you think? Right? Like they probably just stepped on the ship and it's like, man, I hope shit doesn't go sideways.
Totally.
One thing to note, though, is that there is a drastically different costume between the shot of the infiltration and the shot where it looks like he's captured. So, like, it's not like he's just got extra gear laying around, right? Like on the infiltration mission.
No, I agree. So it could be completely different.
Yeah, two different areas that we're looking at. Next up, we got the masks of Kylo Ren, and two of the three. We have three masks laying here. Two of them look like they're destroyed in some way, shape, or form, and then one of them looks like it's the full mask. And then the way that it looks like the one that's closest to the camera is beat up, I mean, it looks like he took a shot right to the middle of the head.
Yeah, either that or he just force-fucked the shit out of it.
Yeah, like he picked it up and force-slung it across the room
or it was just force-crushing it.
Yeah, that
like
too.
A can, like, yeah.
Yeah, now the one in the back, is messed up too.
It looks punched out, like someone just took out the jaw of it.
Yeah, I think that he's going to get in multiple fights, dude. Like, I think in this movie,
it'd be awesome.
He's going to go off the rails. Like, and I'm not talking about off the rails. Well, I mean,
one of the things that we were going to get to, but we're not because we're already going long, but they showed off his ship now. It's called the TIE Silencer.
Yeah.
And it's a one-man deal, and totally, I could see him going off and doing some fucking missions.
Yeah, he's gonna go rogue. Like, my thoughts is he's gonna go rogue from the First Order, like not even him just going and doing solo missions. Like, he's gonna go rogue in some way, and like the First Order is gonna come after him. That's what I think is gonna happen. Like, it doesn't even have to be like he's going back to Luke to like, hey, Uncle, I want to rejoin the Jedi. Like, I just think that, like, what may happen is, like, he's going to go off and do his own thing. Like, he may not be on the good side, but he's not really on the bad side anymore either. Like, he's kind of running... He's going to be running shit against both sides.
Well, we know he struggles. Yeah. I mean, he asked Lord Vader for help. Granddaddy Vay, back in TFA, he's like, hey, buddy... help me. I feel that light side pulling at me again.
Yeah, so who knows, man? I mean, maybe the new thing that Luke is talking about, like the Jedi must die, maybe like he and Kylo have been in touch with each other through the Force in some way, and he convinces Kylo, like, look, man, I got this new thing. It's not the Jedi. It's not what I was teaching you before. Well, there's always
the gray Jedi theory that everyone's hard up on.
I mean, everybody's always loved the Grey Jedi theory since, like, Qui-Gon, because that's essentially what most people viewed Qui-Gon as, was a Grey Jedi, because of the line that Obi-Wan said in episode 1, like, you would be a master if you just followed the council's rules. And he's like, nah, man, it's just not my shit. I just do my own thing.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But there's a lot of, there's so many questions that I have just about Kylo Ren's character in himself. I mean, so many bullshitters out there talking about emo Kylo Ren, and this character's just a whiny baby. He's probably
I think he's a good character. I think he's quality. I thought he was quality the moment I saw him.
Yeah, he's top notch, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. So next shot we get is a in viewfinder. It looks like an in viewfinder shot of some action happening on the casino planet of Canto Bight. We get some human characters mingling with some alien characters on there. It looks like it's a very, high-stakes card game going on in the shot.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the reason for including it is, again, there's not a single guy wearing balls on his face or a jumpsuit. I mean, these are legit masks, and even the fucking dealer is a puppet.
Yeah.
Or an animatronic, so I just really dig that. And that's what the next shot is, too. It's just Porgs Part 2, so nothing to talk about. But practical. You gotta love it. So the next shot, it looks like this is a First Order base ship taking a hit here.
Oh, for sure, yeah. You can see the
iconic triangular windows.
Yeah, the triangle windows, the gray uniforms of everybody who's falling from this explosion. If you look here, look in the very front, there's a dude with a white cape, and that again just reminds me of Orson Krennic, because Krennic's
I didn't notice that before. Yeah,
Krennic's get up in Rogue One was styling, dude. Like it just looks so good.
He's the biggest pimp of the Imperial forces,
for sure. I mean,
without a doubt.
So hopefully we get to see somebody else rocking the all white in this one, even if it is only for a second before the ship gets blown to shit. But this is clearly a First Order vessel under assault by, I mean, you would have to assume it's the Resistance, right? Unless we're just like, there's a new player in the game and we just don't know what's going on.
It's got to be Resistance.
Yeah.
All right, so the next two shots, in my opinion, brother, were the biggest shots, the biggest reveals of this behind-the-scenes footage. And they both feature Rey in some sort of capacity. So the first one, why is it so amazing? Well, she's wearing a completely different costume than we've ever seen her in, albeit a very similar, if not identical, style to her costume from Jakku, but now with a gray tunic sash, or whatever the fuck you want to call it, in a darker brown under tunic.
Yeah, it almost looks like...
She even wraps her arms the same way.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it looks like fucking Qui-Gon. I mean,
to me, it does look... Yeah, it does kind of look like a modern Jedi get-up, but it's also the exact same thing she wore on Jakku.
Yeah.
Except for she's now wearing pants instead of, knickerbockers that stopped at her knees.
Yeah. So, and then also her hair is completely differently. I mean, is done differently. We've seen it in both.
Yeah,
so
it
far.
seems longer and more. She isn't doing the triple buns anymore.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. She took him out of that 3-bun kind of thing in the back of her head, and she's got her hair kind of long now. And so, do you think that obviously in the shot too, you see Finn, John Boyega. So, do you think that like these two are actually in this shot together in the movie, or like you said in the post that like Boyega just kind of jumped up there, had a little fun with Daisy between shots, and then jumped back off?
See, the more I think about it, I think it is them dicking around.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, like the shot is dance. Like,
yeah, clearly. Dancing. But B, I do think they are together, and this is towards the end of the movie.
Yeah,
because they're clearly on this wintry type of planet, right? And we saw that Starkiller base, but obviously that's gone, so it's not Starkiller base. So it's going to be somewhere we don't know about. Yeah. And the fact that she's wearing such different clothing that is still part her original identity, but also reflecting her new progression and growth with the Force. And again, you got to note the grayness, Gray Jedi. So yeah, I think this is something where they do meet up late on in the film. The first time they probably do run into each other. And they're both obviously going to be completely different from the last time they left each other on Starkiller Base.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, this ice planet, seems like ice planets show up a lot in the Star Wars universe.
In the middle of a Star Wars trilogy, of course.
Yeah, I mean, you got it on Hoth. Was there an ice planet on Episode 2? I don't think so. I mean, there was Camino.
No.
Camino was all water, though. There was no ice.
No ice planets in the prequel era.
Yeah, so this is clear. Like, they're standing in front of an ice mountain, so who knows? I mean, it's not going to be Hoth, I would imagine. So that you could probably cross that out. I mean, back in old EU, there was an ice planet called Ziost. I don't think that... Ziost is the planet.
Well, I was going to say, I know for a fact in the Clone Wars cartoons, which I believe are canon, they do go to an ice planet to retrieve lightsaber crystals, and I forget the name, but I believe it starts with an I.
Okay, yeah. I think
like Ios or something like that.
Yeah.
Honestly.
So it's possible. I mean, yeah, like you said, all of the Clone Wars stuff is canon, so that could make an appearance here. Maybe, maybe you're right, though. Maybe Boyega just jumped in here to, fuck around with Daisy for a little bit. And then this is, like, part of, like, the final part of her training. We know that part of Jedi's training is retrieving a lightsaber crystal. So maybe Luke took her here to find a lightsaber crystal.
Yeah, I mean, that'd be deep. But the next shot, another great one, only because Daisy's wearing a hood. Very Jedi-like, but she's clearly still holding the Skywalker family lightsaber, and to me, she's still in her Resistance gear at this point.
Yeah, this is probably
like
still
the
on
armbands look very Resistance-like versus the last shot we looked at, where the armbands were back to
her style,
kind of the Jakku wrap.
Yeah. So I think this is still on Acto. This is still training, maybe with Luke. Maybe this is some sort of, if this is like the Luke cave or this is a different cave, we don't know. But still clearly on Acto. Do you think, knowing what we just talked about with her possibly retrieving a lightsaber crystal, do you think that after, like, she is going to have the task of building her own lightsaber on Acto?
No, I'm almost positive that they came out and said that she more or less eventually keeps the Skywalker saber.
Okay.
And it's no longer a Skywalker blade, it's now Rey's.
Well, I mean, it could be a Skywalker blade, even if it is Rey's. Who knows? But yeah.
Right, yeah, there you go. Of course.
Yeah. Oh, okay, like, we're getting to
that's what they're saying.
Yeah, we're getting to the end of the shots, but I wanted to bring up one shot that wasn't in here. If you watch the trailer or the behind the scenes all the way through, there's a shot of Daisy practicing with a staff, practicing combat with a staff. Now, that staff looked very similar to the staff that the guy was using in the training with Kylo. The shot from him fighting whoever he was fighting. So that immediately, when I saw that, made me think that maybe he was fighting Rey, but she's not using a lightsaber. She's using some sort of other weapon. I always thought it would be cool if she did end up with a staff saber like Darth Maul, because, like, that's what she was rocking when she was on Jakku.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I think you and every other Star Wars fan out there, which means it'll never happen, but yeah. It would make sense to see her with one. I mean, clearly she's proficient at the bow staff, just like my man Donatello.
Dude, you know how badass it would be if, like, she handed that saber back off to Luke, and then we see her, like, constructing a saber, and then we get, like, you get the Maul thing. You get the Maul ignition of the one blade.
Right. But hers is green and blue.
Oh, man. That would be
that's
sick.
like fucking KOTOR stuff right there.
Oh, yeah. It's, like you said, I think it's too good to be true, though. I don't think it's going to happen, but... Man, that'd be nice to see her rocking a double-sided blade.
Rad. I did like the hood, though, even though I think it's somehow part of her resistant getup. So, the last shot we got, and it was just kind of silly, and they put it in as a joke, clearly, is a shot of Akbar. So we know Akbar is going to be in The Last Jedi, but he's holding the kind of a clapboard saying, it's a wrap.
It's a wrap.
So you got to like that.
Yeah.
And that's a wrap on this cast, my friend. I mean, we definitely did the marathon here, so we're not going to worry about some of the news. It honestly wasn't much big.
Yeah, like you said, the only big thing was the Kylo ship reveal.
Right, which we talked about. And if it's anything we feel like we need to discuss, we'll be back at our regular scheduled time next week anyways. Yeah. So we're here for you. We're good to go. You are covered. But that's kind of what we thought about the behind-the-scenes footage from D23 for The Last Jedi. So hopefully you dug our insights. If you think we're idiots, please let us know. Because we still really do not understand the full scope of this podcast and who it reaches and who actually listens. So if you do, let us know somehow. Tweet us at @MPuda. Go to entertainmentbuddha.com. Send me an email. Anything. We'd love to hear from you.
Yep.
All right, buddy. Anything you got to plug here at the end?
No, I think we're all good. Is the new Lesson 12 Parsecs up? Should be up.
Not yet.
Soon?
It's been, yeah, definitely. It'll probably not this weekend because I don't want to burn on the weekend, but Monday for sure.
Yeah, so get ready for that. We have a little piece of knowledge about Anakin Skywalker.
Yeah, you'll like it. This is a good one.
It's a solid one. So yeah, keep your eyes out for that. And we'll probably be back next week if there's some new news out there that we need to cover for you guys. And yeah, that's about it.
All right, my friends, you know what to do, and that is to always make sure that the Force is with you. Always. Catch you later. Peace out.